Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Here's your host, Morgan Colby and Rick Lemon.
What's going on, Fantasy Champs? Welcome back in to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. My name is Morgan Colby. I got Rick Lemon with me as always. What's crack-a-lackin', Rick?
What's up?
We are going to talk today about part 2 of our top 12 wide receiver rankings, and we'll recap who the top 6 were, so you're not sitting here confused if you didn't watch the first show. But if you did, somewhere on the video at some point, there was a little button that you could click to watch it. But anyway, so we're going to talk about the rest of our top 12 wide receiver rankings. Before we do that, check out our website, fantasychampions.com. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or any other podcast platforms, please leave a review and share this podcast with your friends. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe, click the bell for noties, and comment down below who your bottom 6 are. Okay? So we can see what that looks like. So you ready to talk about this bottom 6, Rick?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, bottom 6 is correct. So this is very different. I talked about us having a little bit of a, what do you call it? 3-part segments here, where our 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah, we kind of split it by tiers, I guess.
Yeah, and so this bottom half here, after 6, is a little bit interesting. We have 7 players listed here, and we'll talk about, actually, we do have 7 players, correct?
Yeah.
7 players. 7 players here that we'll talk about. Our 12 is different, and then the rest of them are kind of switched around. So,
I think it's 6 players, actually, but whatever.
Well, you have Deontay Johnson.
Oh, right.
And
yeah.
I have
Sorry,
7
7 players.
But anyway.
You're right.
So number 7, we have 2 different guys. I'll start out with. We'll start off by talking about Debo Samuel, and then we'll just go down the list. And I'll just bring different guys up. So anyway, I have Debo 7 on my list, right after Devontae Adams. Rick has Debo 8, so not too far off. This kind of hurt a little bit because I have been one to be down on Debo.
I know, and I've been the one that was pro Debo. But
and this is how it always occurs. But I will say his underdog ADP right now, just to give you an accurate, we can't like Sleeper's ADP is great. And I love
it is
Sleeper's
great
ADP, but I feel like it doesn't really get kicking until August. So anyway, underdog is going to be a reflection more specifically of where that is. Debo right now is currently going off the board as the wide receiver 18. Or I'm sorry, not the wide receiver 18. Current ADP is 18. If he was wide receiver 18, I'd be like, holy frick.
Yeah, wide receiver 8.
He's the wide receiver 8. He's going off the board as at current ADP of 18.7, so he's basically late second round. You can nap this guy for cheap, I guess. But Debo has no ceiling.
No.
And I feel like that is something that needs to be talked about a little bit more, where I'm putting him kind of in the higher range of outcomes for Dibo Samuel. And I think the more than likely range that he ends up in is probably 10 to 12. And I don't dislike Dibo Samuel, but I don't. There's a lot of changes going on with the San Francisco 49ers. We talked about this before in the offseason, so far through the offseason. And the 49ers are most likely not. I mean, they might run it back with Jimmy G this year. I've heard rumors of that, but most likely they're going to go with Trey Lance. And I would imagine that because of Trey Lance, when Patrick Mahomes was drafted by the Chiefs, the plan was, okay, he's definitely going to start in year 2. Trey Lance, I feel like, was more of a developmental guy that they intended on starting maybe 2 years down the line or something like that. And I don't know if he's ready like Mahomes was ready when he came into the NFL. I don't think that Trey Lance is ready yet to be a starting quarterback. So I think this is going to be like a rookie season for him. There's going to be a lot of like ups and downs and learning curves. And because of that, he'll still probably be he might be a top 5 fantasy quarterback, but in real life, it'll be a little bit different. I don't know if Debo is going to get good things from that or not so great things. But those rushing touchdowns that you saw in the red area from Debo Samuel, I think those can go away. And most likely will, because if you have Trey Lance starting at quarterback, they're most likely going to run plays that are catered more towards Trey Lance running the ball into the end zone and less catered towards Debo Samuel. He also has complained about his role in the offense, which I think means my rushing and how much you use me as a running back. So with those things being said, if he regresses in the rushing area and that's not a part of his game anymore, he's not a top 3 wide receiver. So I think 6, I think 7 or 8 is definitely a good spot for Debo Samuel. I don't think that he provides a high ceiling. He's a good floor guy, good floor play. Kind of similar to Stefan Diggs, but a little bit like a poor man Stefan Diggs, where you get
without Josh Allen at quarterback.
Right. You get consistency. There might be some plays where he provides a little bit of rushing and maybe some rushing touchdowns, and you get a small, a good floor for him on a week-to-week basis. But he's not going to be a guy that is the wide receiver 1 on a week every single week. So,
yeah, I mean, based on. It seems like he's unhappy, like you said, how he got used in the rushing game. He didn't want that because for his long-term health, it makes sense. But he had 8 rushing touchdowns last year on 60 carries or 59 carries for 365 yards. So if you take a lot of that away, it will absolutely make a difference for him fantasy-wise. And I think that's going to happen. I don't see them using him the same way. Yeah. Will he still get some rushing work? Yeah, sure. Maybe like he did in his rookie year. But I don't think he's getting 60 carries again. I don't think that's happening. And then you add in Trey Lance, who could be good, could be bad. It's a wild card. There's just kind of too many question marks with Debo. And I was someone who was actually pretty high on him compared to some people earlier a few months ago, right after the season ended. But now as we go deeper into the offseason, I'm starting to fade him a little bit. I am interested to see what it's going to look like after I do my projections for not just Debo, but for all these guys.
Yeah.
But Debo in particular, because what is it going to look like, or what do I think it's going to look like if you take out a lot of the rushing?
Yeah.
And it's going to be fascinating because he was still a wide receiver 2 or 3 last year, depending on what format you played in. So still a good player.
I think if you tag on that rushing regression and a tiny bit of passing regression, it moves him from 3 to 7. Or 3 to 8.
Yeah. I don't even need it. I think you could probably just leave the passing and just take the rushing out, and he goes from 3 to 7 or 8. So, I mean, we'll see. It'll be interesting, but that's the only reason why I have Debo a little lower. But things could change. See how season go.
Okay. Let's talk about Rick's number 7, who is Mike Evans.
Most disgusting guy on this whole list for me.
Yes, and I like it. I like it. I don't mind that ranking, Rick. I do think that Debo Samuel and others maybe should be ahead of him. I'm curious to see why you have him 7, but I have him 9. I have never really fully liked Mike Evans. He's always been a, wide receiver 10 to 12, so a low-end wide receiver 1. We know what he is at this point. He's not going to be a top 3, top 4, top 5 wide receiver. This is another floor play for me. So if you miss out on Debo or you miss out on Diggs, and you need a steady, good wide receiver, I think Mike Evans is going to be that guy. Tom Brady comes back, no Gronk, most likely no Gronk. He retired, but Brady just needs to. I don't know what he does, but he gets Gronk to come out of retirement a lot. But anyway, so Gronk is out. Chris Godwin is out. They're missing Rojo too. So this offense is going to be different. And a lot of vacated targets on the Buccaneers offense. So I think Mike Evans is going to be get the brunt of that target share, and he'll be around 140, maybe 150 targets next year. And with that provides a good base floor. But I have him 9 because I think the talent of Debo and Tyreque Hill and what they can provide and we'll get to Tyreque Hill in a second, but those two guys, they provide a higher, I think, ceiling than Mike Evans. And when you're talking about getting this late in the top 12 rankings, and when you start getting into like 13 to 24, then it starts to matter about who you start putting over guys. Like there might be a good floor guy, but if am I choosing Darnell Mooney, who has a very high ceiling, or a low floor in like the 7th, 8th round, or am I going to choose a guy who has a good floor play in the 7th, 8th round? The guy's not going to start, so I'm taking the guy with the higher ceiling. And I think when you're talking about the top 12, you might be able to get away with that, but I'd rather have the ceiling of Tyreque Hill, the ceiling of Debo Samuel, than have Mike Evans, who's like, yeah, he's going to be like top 12.
Yeah.
Probably, maybe like 11.
Yeah, that's absolutely a fair argument. And I think, we'll see. Like I said, I think these rankings are super gross for me to have Mike Evans at 7, and I don't know if I'm going to finish with that, but there is reasoning behind it. As you mentioned, Godwin injured, Gronk retired, AB not there anymore. So Rojo gone, although he didn't really do much in the passing game. But there is a lot of vacated targets. Gronk had 89 last year. AB had 62 in just 7 games played. And Godwin had 127 last year. I think that's going to go down just because he's only going to play in like 10 to 12 games this year because he's going to miss the first 4 to 6 weeks of the season. So if you take that into account, Evans is going to start off really hot. I think he's going to demand a higher target share than he has in years past. Yes, they have Russell Gage too, but I don't really see Russell Gage getting a whole lot of targets. I think Evans will be the guy in that offense. And even with Gronk and with Chris Godwin, Evans last year was wide receiver 9 in fantasy. So it's not like this is an insane take with those guys out there. So Gronk is a big one because Gronk not only had a decent target share, but he also had the 6 touchdowns. Evans, though, is the red zone guy. He had 14 last year. That's a lot of touchdowns to replicate. So I don't know how it's going to be, but this is the best opportunity he's had in a couple years, really.
Yeah.
And he's still, he's been in the league a long time, but he's not at the point where he can't produce. He's only 28 years old. I think he'll be 29 he'll turn 29 when the season starts, but he's still at an age where he can produce. He's going to have the most opportunity he's had. And he's still in probably a top 10 offense in the league, a high-scoring offense as the number 1 receiver, probably getting the most targets he's had in a long time. So you take all those things into account. I think he's really the safer pick.
Right.
And he has just as high of a ceiling than some of these other guys that are right below him.
Okay.
So that's why I have him at 7, but it is really gross. And we'll see again after I do my predictions.
So you like his ceiling better than Debo and Tyreek's?
Oh, well, maybe not Tyreek. But he definitely has a much higher floor than Tyreek Hill.
That's true. It's very true.
Like much higher.
I think regardless of whether he's 7 or 9, I personally am coming out of the box on Mike Evans. And
for the first time in your fantasy career.
Yeah, I think that this is a good play. I think he'd be a good draft pick.
Hey, that's how you know you're a good fantasy analyst.
Players I don't like.
Players you don't like.
I know who's going to take him in our home league. So there's that.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's talk about my number 8 guy, Rick's number 9 guy, which is Tyrique Hill. Really interested to see why Rick has him so low. It's
only one spot lower than you.
Lower than me. But 9?
I know. It's the Tua thing, bro.
Yeah.
I don't know if Tua is any good. And Tyreek Hill's in the same tier as the guys above him. I
remember
don't know
a couple weeks ago there was
I just drafted him in the league
during mini camps, and a video came out. You could probably Google it or look it up on Twitter or whatever.
I know
a video came
about.
out. The Dolphins posted a video of Tua throwing it to Tyreek Hill, and
it was underthrown.
Yeah, it was very much underthrown, and I remember the Tua truthers, which I was one of them. I never truthed about his I wouldn't. Well, have I done this, Rick, with Mac Jones? He can throw it. He could throw it deep, but he doesn't throw it deep like Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert.
Yeah,
like
right.
Joe Burrow, like those guys. Tua can throw it deep. Whether like how it gets there is a whole other conversation. So
he doesn't have the arm strength of those guys.
He doesn't have the arm strength. And I don't even know if he's got the arm strength of Mac Jones, to be honest with you. But Tyreque Hill is a very, very much a speed vertical guy. Jalen Waddle had a specific role in the slot last year, and I don't know if that's going to change. And like Tyreque Hill, anyway, this video, he threw it. He underthrew Tyreque Hill, and people were retweeting it going, "See, Tua can throw it deep."
Yeah.
What?
It was a sad day.
Oh man. But anyway, I don't hate Tua. And he could have a mediocre season, be good, like 20, like last year's Mac Jones, but he threw 24 touchdowns, just under 4,000 yards. Like I think Tua could do that next year and be fine.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Like, and I don't think he sucks at quarterback. Like I really don't. And I want Tua. Well, and as a division rival, I would love for Tua just to crap himself in the Dolphins to fall apart. But, I like Tua as a player, and I really want him to, succeed. I just, watching him for the last 2 years, there's nothing in his game that makes me feel like, okay, he's going to elevate Tyreque Hill and Jalen Waddle to a new level.
Not even close.
When you look at Tyreque, right, he's coming from Mahomes, who he had, I mean, there were plays, and this didn't happen a whole ton with Tyreque Hill, so I don't want to overestimate how much of his success came from this, but Mahomes was able to get out of the pocket several times and just have Tyreque running in circles until the cornerback fell over and they threw it to Tyreque. Right. That happens so often. And Tua's not going to do that. He doesn't have the speed, nor does he have the athleticism to do that. So it's going to have to be drawn up plays for Tyreque Hill. They might have the fastest offense in the NFL, but I'm very curious to see how the Dolphins utilize Tyreque Hill, because I think last year at 160 targets, the years of Tyreque Hill's 120 target seasons are coming back. And I think that drops him down into the second half of the rankings. Like he might end up like 7, maybe even 6 if he has a good season. But I think his ceiling stops at 5 in the rankings,
right?
Or like finishing at 5. So I have him 8 just because I don't believe Tua can do it. I don't believe the offense for the Dolphins is going to be all that much improved, and I could be very much wrong about that. But Tyreque definitely smells like a definite large regression candidate.
Yeah. Did you hear his quote that he said with Mahomes and Tua?
I thought that was fake.
No, he said, obviously I'm going to go with Mahomes, because he originally said that like Tua is more accurate, and then they asked him to like comment on it. Yeah, he said obviously
that statement. Yeah,
he said obviously like I'm going to go with 15, meaning Mahomes, as the strongest arm. But as far as accuracy wise, I'm going with Tua all day, Hill said. Mahomes was actually slightly more accurate than Tua the last 2 seasons. But quote unquote, I've had a chance to see Tua throw the ball to myself, but he's that dude, bro, Hill said. So
makes me feel less good about Jonnu Smith talking up Mac Jones.
Oh yeah, I mean everybody's gonna talk up their quarterback. It makes sense. Yeah. So I don't really believe that. I will say though, I did like Tua coming out too, and I liked him going into last year. So I still have hope deep down that he's a good quarterback, because he's very similar to Mac Jones in the sense that he's very accurate in the short and intermediate throws, which could be a good thing for Hill, because the thing with Tyreque Hill is he doesn't necessarily need a great quarterback because he can create a lot with himself in a good scheme. So if there's a good play design to get him open in space with like a 5-10 yard pass, and then he can just go and use his speed, he can do that all day. So that is why I think Hill will still be a good fantasy player, and will still have some good production. I drafted him in a best ball league I did the other day because he fell in the draft. He fell like almost a full round. I got him, I think, in like the early 3rd round. So I was definitely okay with that with Tyreque Hill. just temper your expectations. He's not going to be the wide receiver 1 or 2. I think he was with the Chiefs. That's just not happening anymore. Yeah. But he's going to be a top 10 wide receiver still. He'll still be a wide receiver 1. Yeah. And he'll have the occasional play where he gets a slant from Tua that he just takes 80 yards.
Blows it to the house.
Because he's Tyreque Hill.
Yeah. He's ADP right now is 21, right behind Debo's. So
yeah,
he's cheaper than Evans and Debo.
Yeah, exactly. So
that's not bad.
Not bad.
But at this point, there's 2 guys on this list that have had massive major, or 3. We haven't gotten to the third guy yet, but 2 guys that we've talked about so far, Devontae Adams, Tyreque Hill, have had major scenery changes. And they're also kind of on the back 9 of their career. So I just don't know how it translates. Like, Hill went to a bad football team. Like, the Dolphins were not good last year, and they were not good the year before, and they were not good the year before, and they haven't been good for a while. And Tua hasn't changed that. Nothing has really changed that. And adding Tyreque Hill and Mike McDaniel, is that enough for them to start winning football games and for their offense to become elite? Like, I don't think so.
Probably
not. I like Tyreque Hill, but he's a case, a case study that I'm not sure I can figure out. Like, I just kind of want to see what happens. We get to play him week 1 for the Patriots, so I'll be watching that game full. But I want to see what happens. So anyway, let's talk about the last 3 guys really quickly. We'll talk about the next 2 kind of in a grouped combo, and then me and Rick can argue about 12. Okay. So I have A.J. Brown 10 and Keenan Allen 11. Rick has Keenan Allen 10 and A.J. Brown 11, and I think I know why he has Keenan Allen ahead of A.J. Brown. But I'll just say Keenan Allen is an interesting guy to start off with. He last year, in the last couple years, has not been a guy considered in the top 12. I think in some people's rankings, he's inched into that conversation. But even with Justin Herbert, he hasn't really been a guy that has been targeted for a lot of people. And Rick has him 10. I have him 11. So he jumps into the top 12 this year. I think it's just a lack of understanding or knowing who's going to be into this. Like, I wish I could be more definitive about 10, 11, 12. Right. I can't be. And Keenan Allen's a good player. He's consistent. He has Justin Herbert as his quarterback. And I think a lot of attention now, because of the season Mike Williams had last year, is going to be paid to Mike Williams this year, which will open things up for Keenan Allen. And I think that's a good thing for him. But I still would take A.J. Brown over him. This is like a 1A, 1B scenario. So it's like they're both basically 10 for me, and I would take either one of them. But A.J. Brown is a little bit harder of, like, I think Keenan Allen, we know what he is. He's got a good floor. He's got an okay ceiling. Like, I think he can jump into the top 8 if he needs, if he has a good year. But A.J. Brown could either be very, very, very good, top 5.
Yeah, sure.
Or he could be wide receiver 28.
Yes.
So that could go either way for this guy. And to me, I'll take the ceiling at this point over the floor of Keenan Allen. And so that's why I put A.J. Brown 10 and Keenan Allen 11. But I know Rick probably feels that A.J. Brown's target share is going to go in the crap. He didn't have a high target share in Tennessee. So that's why I'm like, he's the same player.
This is one I might regret. Okay, but that is a key phrase that you just said. He's the same player. But this is one I might regret because I'm taking the situation over the talent.
Yeah.
With Keenan Allen at 10, I think he's, a safe play. He's got Justin Herbert. Last year, he still had 157 targets. Yeah. He finished in PPR as the wide receiver 10. This will definitely be the last year I ever have Keenan Allen ranked inside my top 10 or probably even top 12, to be honest. But he's still with Herbert. I think he's a safe play again. I don't think Mike Williams is going to go in there and steal the show like some people think he will. He might to start the season, just like last year, and then kind of fades away for a couple weeks, because that's the type of player he just has been his whole career.
Yep.
But Keenan Allen, to me, he's had 100 catches in 4 of the last 5 years. And the year that he didn't have 100 catches, he had 97. So he's very, very consistent. He's been at worst a wide receiver 14 in PPR in the last 5 years. So he's just an all-around solid player, and he's got a fantastic quarterback in a fantastic offense.
Yeah.
For AJ Brown, on the other hand, it's a total mystery. I think the Eagles' offense will definitely be a lot better thanks to him. But is Jalen Hurts the type of quarterback to throw 25, 30 touchdowns?
No, but is Ryan Tannehill?
No, he's not. And you know what? AJ Brown with Ryan Tannehill was never a top 10 receiver. He finished at his highest point was wide receiver 12 in 2020. Last season in 13 games, he was wide receiver 32, which is absolutely horrible. Now he only had 5 touchdowns, so that's partly why it happened. But with Philly, if he just has the year that
they didn't have Derrick Henry for majority of the season. So
no, they did not.
I think that affected their offensive output.
You would think it would make it better, but I guess it made it worse because the whole offense blew.
Yeah,
and they still try to run it. But even AJ Brown's
some games
breakout year, he was good.
Remember those weeks trying to figure out which tight end running back, a Titans running back was going to be good.
Yeah.
Anyway,
outside of Tennessee, though, there was probably only like 5 teams that were on the same level of horrible landing spots, and I think the Eagles were one of them.
Yeah.
So
that's fair enough. I do. Like, I don't think, to me, like, last year, the Titans' offense was awful. Like, not good. And I don't think that was A.J. Brown's fault. That was just Ryan Tannehill regressing and not having Derrick Henry. I think that the Eagles can probably do the same thing offensively that the Titans did 2 years ago. I don't think that that's an unfeasible task for them. I don't think Jalen Hurts is any worse of a quarterback than Ryan Tannehill is. So I think it's a big year for Jalen Hurts. Like, if he steps, like, this is another guy like Tua. Now, Tua was a top 5 pick, so
Hurts was not.
Hurts was not. He was a second-round pick. But he's in the same conversation where it's like he's shown glimpses of being really good, and then he's shown glimpses of being just an atrocious passing quarterback who can't get the job done. And he's on that border, and very similar start as Tua. So it's like, but now you got A.J. Brown, you have Devonta Smith, you have the Eagles begging for a good receiving core.
They got it.
And they got it. So is this a good thing for Jalen Hurts? I honestly, like, I hate to say this because I like Jalen Hurts way, way more than Gardner Minshew, but would it honestly balance the situation out and make things steady if Gardner Minshew started the whole season?
I don't know. It's still
would that make you feel better or worse about?
So the thing is, like, Hurts last year in 15 games, he had 16 passing touchdowns. How much better is he going to be in year 3? Like, does he get 25 touchdown passes?
Did he have a red zone target though?
Yeah, not really. I mean, maybe Dallas Goedert kind of counts as that. AJ Brown definitely is a red zone target for sure. But, like, you think he throws 30 touchdowns next year?
No, but I don't think he needs to for.
How many would he need to for AJ Brown to?
How many touchdowns do you want AJ Brown to get?
I want him to get at least 10.
All right, 20 touchdowns. That's how much he needs.
So you're saying he's going to throw half to AJ Brown with Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert?
I think Devontae Smith will get like 5 of them.
Okay, and then Goddard gets another 5. And there's going to be touchdowns to other players. It's not going to just be 3 guys.
Maybe. Hey, I'm being generous.
I'm thinking Hurts needs at least at minimum
impossible
25 passing touchdowns.
Yeah, I was going to say 24 or 25. I think he can reach that. Like, that's not.
I think he can too, but we're talking about
it'll be like 3,000 yards and 25 touchdowns, but
yeah, we're talking about a really good season for Hurts' standards to me.
Imagine if
that's why I'm down on it.
Think about where Jalen Hurts was. Never mind. I was going to say, think about where Jalen Hurts was like last year as a quarterback, like what wide receiver, a quarterback 8. So like 7, and he didn't even pass the ball.
That's true.
Can we get him?
That is crazy.
I don't. And then the other thing is didn't they just change their whole offensive scheme?
Yeah. So you're saying you still like AJ Brown?
I do.
Okay, good. I sent you a trade in Dynasty for him the other day.
Really? I think I declined
Did you see that?
Yeah, frick you. I declined it.
Of course
You asked me to trade CeeDee Lamb. That's my boy. Can't trade
I was gonna offer something else too.
Oh, go ahead. I'm always open, all ears.
For two of your favorite players, Hawk and AJ Brown. But I need more than just CD if I'm doing it. So.
Oh, see, I can't give up CD. He's my guy. I literally have his
even
his
for Hawk and AJ Brown?
I have CeeDee Lamb's jersey in my closet, bro.
You have AJ Brown's jersey too, don't you?
Well, I got a signed AJ Brown jersey, but now it's a Titans jersey. So I mean, I don't know if I like that.
Will it hold the same value, or does it hold more value because what if he becomes a Hall of Fame player and
it could go either way.
You got his Titans jersey. That's gonna be.
But anyway, yeah, I'm not. Let's say I'm not like in love with AJ Brown, but what it looks like in our rankings so far, we'll talk about the final guys here in a second. Is that Rick is playing more safe.
I am,
and I'm playing a little bit.
I am,
more,
and it's
more
kind
aggressive.
of gross.
Because we both have Adams in the same spot, but he has Mike Evans at.
Well, that's
7,
why CD. I was gonna put CeeDee Lamb at 4 to be my hot take,
and then he has AJ Brown. Not your rankings aren't conservative, but I just mean like the players that you're drafting are more floor plays than they are or ranking higher. Or
I think that's might be based on I've been bit in the butt the last couple of years with some guys.
You just want consistency. I'm out here throwing my nuts on the table.
Well, I take risks, but my risks are like later in the draft.
Yeah. But anyway, let's move on to the final guys. Rick and I have two separate guys. Rick says Deontay Johnson at 12. I have him 14, I think. And then do you know where my 12 is?
I
Michael
have
Pittman. Do you
Pittman
know
at 14.
Okay, so basically swapped.
Yeah.
So Pittman's a little bit more of an interesting. I'll give my argument, then Rick can give his argument on Deontay Johnson. You guys can decide which one you would prefer in that slot. But so for me, I like Michael Pittman. I've always liked Michael Pittman. He's kind of being hyped up, and I don't like that.
He's being very hyped up.
ECR is like 13 now, so I'm like, okay. But I just want to pull up really quickly last year's numbers so that I can talk intelligently. So Michael Pittman last year was wide receiver 15 in 17 games. He had 194 fantasy points, only 11.5 points per game, which probably would have put him in the bottom part of the top 20 in terms of points per game. But that was with Carson Wentz and a very, 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 very run-friendly football team. Now, the running part hasn't changed, but the quarterback did. So Matt Ryan comes in to play quarterback for that sounds weird, bro. I literally hesitated on the Matt Ryan part because I was like, did he really go to this team?
The Colts, yeah, I know it's weird. That one is weird. Flies under the radar.
But so Michael Pittman had 129 targets, 88 receptions, 1,000 yards, 6 touchdowns. So his first 1,000-yard season. He didn't do anything in particular that was like incredible. In points per game in PPR, he was wide receiver 22. So that's in PPR. I think in half PPR is like wide receiver 18 or 19. But like to me, this is a type of player that has the potential to break out. Would you say Matt Ryan is a better or worse quarterback?
He's better.
So I feel like with a better quarterback and a little bit more target share, which I think he'll get, I think he could get into the 140 range. I think this is going to be a good situation for Michael Pittman to produce. And I'm only asking him to move up 3 spots. So I like the player. I like the ceiling that he provides. I don't think he's going to like break out or have a huge season, but I think that he provides a wide receiver 2 floor with the ceiling of jumping into the top, I think 12, being in the range of 10 to 12. So I have him 12 because I believe in the player. I believe that he's going to be good. I've liked him for the last 2 seasons he's been in the NFL. And he's been a very, very successful player. So I want me to pull up one more thing before I finish what I'm saying about.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm just pulling it up. But yeah, so having him 12 instead of like Rick's 14 or the 13 on Sleeper or the 15 that he finished last year. I don't think it's like a hot take, but yeah, he had last year against press coverage. We talked about, Jamar Chase in his rookie season, second season for Michael Pittman, literally the only receiver on the Colts, by the way, besides T.Y. Hilton, who's old as dirt and sucks. He had a 96th percentile against press coverage, 88th percentile against zone coverage. This is success rate versus coverages, and 79th percentile against man coverage. So those were his success rates against certain coverages, and like those numbers are really good. So he's a good wide receiver. He's a good route runner. He's big. He can play the outside, and I think this is similar. He's kind of a similar player. I don't think he's going to be this guy for Matt Ryan, but he kind of is a similar player to Julio Jones. And Matt Ryan threw to a guy like that for a very long time. So I think, obviously a different situation, but I think Michael Pittman can come in and be a wide receiver 1 this year and have success. So I guess you would say that's a breakout, but he was wide receiver 15 last year. So, but that's why I have him 12. I like the upside.
Yeah.
It's me with the
like
upside
Pittman
again.
Too. I thought I was high on Pittman when I had him at 14, but I guess not.
Lower on consensus and way lower than me.
It is higher than Sleeper though. So I do like him at that spot, but I have Deontay Johnson ranked at 12. I know Morgan's a little down on him because of the situation, and I understand that, but he did finish as the wide receiver 8 last year. In PPR, had 107 catches, 169 targets, 8 touchdowns on 1,100 receiving yards, and he did that with Ben Roethlisberger having 3,700 yards, 22 touchdowns. So that's not a good season at all for a quarterback. And do I think Trubisky or Kenny Pickett's going to do better than that? No. Right. But if they just do the same as that, then Deontay Johnson's going to be fine. I know they have George Pickens now, but some of their depth guys are gone. James Washington's gone. Ray McLeod is gone. Juju's gone.
Pickens ain't going to be good for like 2 years, dude.
No, he's not going to be good, but he'll have like 60, 70 targets. So, he'll be involved in the offense.
He'll be that third guy.
Yeah, so with those guys gone, it doesn't really matter that Pickens is in here. So it's pretty much the exact same situation for Deontay. And let's say he has a small regression. Let's say instead of 8 touchdowns, he gets 6. And he goes down to like 155 targets and he gets 1,100 yards. That would still put him in that wide receiver 10 to 12 range last year, which is where I have him ranked. So I do think, is he going to get 8 touchdowns next year? Maybe not. But he'll still, to me, have that high target share, a high amount of receptions, a decent amount of yards. And again, the quarterbacks in Pittsburgh aren't good, but they don't really have to be that good. They just have to match what Roethlisberger did last year, which was bottom 10 in the league. So I'm not too worried about Deontay. I mean, he obviously has a ceiling cap, but Pittman's ceiling is much higher.
You go right in.
I do, yeah. He blew last year. You know my feelings on Big Ben.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll take Deontay, especially if he's falling. Underdog has him as wide receiver 19. Like, I will take him at that value all day.
Yeah, that's fair. I have him 14, so I don't even know. Who do I have 13? Hold on, I'm gonna look. T. Higgins. Who do you?
Yeah, I have T. Higgins 13. So.
See, we're in the same boat over here. We just swapped our 14s. But anyway, our 12s and our 14s. Anyway, there is your top 12 for me. Your top 12 for Rick. My top 12 is Jamar Chase, Jefferson, Cooper Kupp, Diggs, Lamb, Adams, Samuel, Hill, Evans, Brown, Allen, and then Pittman. What is yours, Rick?
I have Justin Jefferson, Cooper Kupp, Jamar Chase. At 4, I have Stephon Diggs. 5, CeeDee Lamb. 6, Devontae Adams. 7, Mike Evans. 8, Debo Samuel. 9, Tyreek Hill. 10, Keenan Allen. 11, A.J. Brown. And 12, I have Deontay Johnson.
There you go. Top 12 wide receiver rankings for 2022. Use them as you will. Next week, we got a lot of rankings. We're just flying around. We'll see you later, guys.
We do. See ya.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Champions Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes and YouTube and follow us on Twitter @TheFFChamps.